Okay, so what I'm doing here is just patching up a couple things, just to get a start. No real end goal, no real preconceived notions, but I just want to get some sound output here, and so I've got to start. I've got the Platts oscillator sound generation module connected to reverb here, which then I have connected to the output as a basic start. And then I have a couple of oscillators, low frequency oscillators, branching out. One of them is going out to Platts to trigger notes, I should say. Yes. To trigger notes from there. And then you'll hear that plonking every so often. I will be making adjustments going on and making use of more of these modules. So yeah, I'll talk about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Alright, so we've got a bloom. So what else can we do here? We've got a note module, we've got a ring modulator, we've got a sequencer, which I haven't quite used yet. I've got a funky little black and yellow filter in the bottom center, and then we've got basically what amounts to a mixer, or that's a four-way cascading amplifier, which means that from left to right, all of the signals, if I'm understanding correctly, are basically summed up as you go along. So 2 will take the signal from 1, add to it, 3 will take the signal from both 2 and 1, and so on and so forth, down here. So, anyway, here we go. So, where do we want to go next? Well, let's see. This is... So we've got our oscillator. We could actually make it do this. So I'll take this guy over here, and I will take the output from this over here, and I will put you into the node in, and I will probably turn up the speed a bit and turn it to kind of quasi-random. Maybe a little bit faster here. Okay, and now we want to make sure we take a cable from the tip-top audio guy, the tip-top quantizer, which basically adjusts a signal to a particular note. So we take the signal from the LFO, which really should be coming up from here. Oops. At least I think it should be. I'll make that. Alright, let's give that a whirl. And hopefully this cable is long enough. I'll take the output from quantizer. It's green. Super green, and plug it into Octave. See what happens here. There you go. Now let's see if I take out the trigger. It's kind of cool. Set to semi-random, and it will be going up through the scale. I don't have a random generator, but it's kind of acting in a pseudo-random fashion, the waveform, so it'll keep on going up and down. But it'll still be is to play those notes in that order, at that sequence. Ooh, that's kind of neat. So I will adjust the volume here. Adjust the reverb. Also throw this into a amplifier to make it not so noisy. So I'll probably just make it do the, oh, that's actually CV. That really needs to go down here. And do that input. This will be coming out of this output. Okay. So yes, we've got Platts going out into this amplifier, and the amplifier going VCA, a voltage controlled amplifier, going into reverb, and now we just need to increase the gain. So far. But what if we wanted to do something more? We can use the filter here, the WASP filter, and we can plug the input up here. And this essentially creates two different kind of outputs. A bandpass output, which basically only allows a certain range of frequencies to come through. And that can be adjusted with a few of these knobs here. And then we also have a low pass and high pass out. And those both can be modulated with control voltage inputs. So you can actually alternate between those two filters. And so you get a lot of creative, weird, funky kind of possibilities in terms of filtering the signal. So why don't we do this? Let's grab a yellow cable here, and I was going to put you in here, put it on the bandpass out, and I will also find another shorter cable, I hope. I'll use this one here, and I will put you here, and I will put you here. Little tiny Arturia cables, so silvery one, and I will instead move this output to output 4 on the amp, so we get all 4 inputs since they are all tied together. And now hopefully I will be able to get something out from this. This may take a moment. That's the low pass. Okay, so we know that one works. You can hear the difference in sound too. That's the low pass, high pass, and this is the band pass again. With both combined, coming out of the WASP's filter. Now, what we can do here is get a little creative, given that we have our 2 LFOs. We can do, and those 2 LFOs are plugged into this multi-unit rather, which basically takes a signal, or actually 2 signals since there are 2 sets, and it splits them. So you can route 3 different copies of the same signal, or 6 of the same of the initial one, and you can route those wherever you like. So what I will take here, I will take the second LFO here that's branched out, and I will plug it into CB1 just for fun. And then I will plug this back in to the output because I'm dumb. There we go. Now we can modify the amount of control voltage that's being sent in. Let's see. You can kind of hear that kind of swell there. It's pretty neat. This is a really tiny cable. I didn't realize that existed, but I'm not going to be using that. I am going to take this cable over here, and I'm going to take the other LFO up here, one of 3 outputs, and I'm going to throw it into CV number 2. I'm going to adjust that. And I'm going to play around with the settings on LFO 1. Instead, I want to control the note with my keyboard. So what I do is take out my keyboard and move volts per octave. And that was probably not volts per octave. So for my chart here, okay, keyboard is up here. I can't read. And I'll get the trigger. This is one way to do it. So this is one way of allowing the oscillator to work. We've got a gate, and we have a frequency for pitch sent over to it, and we've got some output coming in. And that's nice and handy, except that only creates a little blip for the duration that the note is pressed, or for the initial plunk down. So as long as I'm holding the note, it will still be allowing the note to be on, but it will only create that sound at the initial attack of the note. So how do we solve this? Well, while I don't have one in the rack, I can use an envelope generator. And you could call it, say, like an ADSR envelope, or in some cases an AD envelope, and there are other variations on that. The keyboard happens to have both an ADSR and AD envelopes. So I can take the output from 1 and toss that into the trigger CV input to allow it to, into the level input to allow it to sound a bit more reasonable than just little blips and bloops, even though those are quite fun on their own. But this will give an interesting volume curve to the module. Just have to thread it through there. There we go. Alright, so now we've got the output from attack, delay, sustain, and release. And so these 4 sliders here are now going to control the volume, if you will, the volume curve of plates. Still kind of sounds like a little plunk, but I'll fix that here. So I just raise the attack level, and there you have it. At least something that approximates a working envelope generator applied to the module there. I don't think that discounts the possibility of using the envelope generator on the synthesizer downstairs. Let's give that one a whirl. So let's pull up an oscillator. Oh dear. Sounds like an elephant almost. Sounds kind of ridiculous, but anyway. Let's see if it will respond to the sequencer. Probably not. Oh, well, okay, there we go. So, with these 2 cables set up to have the signal from the keyboard received and Platts, then yes, you can control the note and the pitch with the keyboard and its internal sequencer. It's kind of neat if you wanted to do that sort of thing. What I tend to like to do is keep the synthesizer and the rack as separate as possible. And, you know, it's up to you. It's not really anything that you have to really, it's not anything that, sorry, just distracted by the computer. So you have so much at your disposal, it's really good to set boundaries. So don't do what I just did. Don't do what I did at the start of the video and say, I'm just going to patch from scratch with any preconceived notions. But it's still fun to explore. But it is typically good to go with a set idea in mind. Like, oh, I want to make some pads, I want to make some reverbs, or if you had enough modules, I want to create all of those things in a certain way that will be aesthetically pleasing to me and hopefully other people. if that is your end goal. And so here I have, well, something. It's not quite aesthetically pleasing, but it just kind of shows that I can control the modular synthesizer bit from the keyboard, and I could also go backwards, well, or in reverse, saying, oh, I want to take, say, the output from one of these modules and go back into the keyboard. Say, if I wanted to send the output from one of these fellows in the amp out to the, let's see, where is it? The master. I'm not sure how this will sound. I mean the external connector on the keyboard, which will send whatever I pass into that through the entire keyboard's signal chain. This will sound really, possibly really weird or really bad, so I apologize in advance. Oh, right. Now the interesting thing about that is that I'm not coming out from the reverb, and so I'm wondering if, because I have it plugged into external, that the master input here is bypassed. So if I were to take this out, I'm getting the output from Platts along with the reverb. So when I had the black cable plugged in, that wasn't happening. So that tells me that this pink cable where this plugged into is bypassed when I have in the master when the external is plugged in, which is good to know. You learn something new every day. So let's go back to having the notes decided with the pitch module here, and so no matter what key I press, it'll be an random pitch. So that is neat to do, but it is unpredictable in terms of what I'm playing on the keyboard, so I would rather have something else, say a low frequency oscillator, triggering the trigger as well. So I will unplug trigger from the keyboard, so I'll go back to square one on that, and instead I will have, say, one of the oscillators take over that function. So, let's see if I can find a long enough cable. Well, let's use this cable again, and then I just pick an oscillator coming out from one of these branches, one of the two, or I could use one of these oscillators. There are two here, but I'll go with this for now, and plug in there. Oh wait, actually, I take that back, I lied. I need to have a pulse, so what I will do is take the sequencer out and plug into the trigger on Platts. There we go. So now we need to activate the sequencer. How do we do that? Well, now we take an LFO, whichever one you want, doesn't matter, and you plug into the input on the clock of the sequencer. So I really hope this works. If this does not work, I'm going to cry. That is not what I expected. Okay. It's one of those situations where you might say, usually this works. Okay, so, might want to do this. Alright, let's try this. Let's go over here just to see what happens. Or let's do this. Trigger. Here we go. Gate. Okay, so we know that works. This is the weird part about synthesis, modular synthesis, where sometimes if you find something is not working, you kind of have to figure it out. Okay, have to diagnose. Let's go out directly from that LFO here. So ideally what should be happening is that the sequencer turns whatever the LFO is sending into a pulse signal. So as you can see, if you can see it, the red light on the bottom next to the cable here is flashing intermittently, which means that a pulse is being sent through the cable to trigger the, trigger, if you will, on Platts, the oscillator. So what should be happening is you should be hearing a note. Why that's not occurring is, I'm not sure as to why. Let's follow the cable. Cable is in here, output's coming there, and we're getting that. Okay, so that is interesting. Alright, so I will forgo that for now and try to adapt to that. And so I will probably just launch the sequencer over here. So we go to clock. Oh no, wait. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Yes, gate. Here we go. Alright. This is sending out a pulse every time I press. Or if I wanted to actually do it here. Or I could just use one of the keyboard's LFOs. These type, so I thought anyway. Could be wrong. So I think I need a square wave. Square wave. Let's see if I can try it this way. Nope. Interesting, but that is not going to help. So I'm sorry, that is not quite what I had expected to happen. So I'll unplug the trigger, and I will unplug the level because I am not sure. Okay. Play around with the resolution of the WASP. Kind of get some neat tones out of that as it's running through both filters. That was kind of neat. Okay, so turn that off. And now, so sorry for all of that. I could have condensed that a bit shorter, but I do want to add the keyboard itself to the reverb. So what I'm going to do here is take the output from the amplifier section on the keyboard, the amp, if you will, for short, and I will plug that into channel number 3 on the modular VCA. The output of all 3 of these cascades into this green cable, which goes up into the reverb. And so there you have it. I basically recreated the sound I had before, with some modifications. But here we are. So if I turn the volume up here on these three guys. So that's our low pass, that's our band pass filter output. And this is our low and high pass output, both altered by various CVs. So kind of a funky mix of stuff. Both the outputs from the plates ultimately coming out of the Wasp, going into the amplifier, along with the keyboard going to the amplifier. Both of those running through the reverb and going back out to the speakers, the cloud, your headphones. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with where this ended up. I basically wound up right where I started. I just need to make a few minor tweaks to get it back to where it was again. The sound that I had going on before I took it all apart. So yeah, I definitely feel good about how the construction went. If you want to leave any comments, feel free. I am expecting feedback in terms of my delivery, verbally, terminology, and so on and so forth. But it's a good exercise to get into. The other part of it is the knowledge of each of the modules and the technicalities that go into what each of those modules do. Where I think it would make for a much longer video if I went into detail on each. I'd have to do a lot more reading. But it would also, I think, facilitate having a lot more idea of how to go about what I want to do, or to formulate a goal in mind with a patch before I get started. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, or hopefully you didn't suffer too much. And yeah, I'll just kind of keep going with this for a bit and see where it goes.